Good morning and welcome to Identity Leathercraft. Today we're going to look at what tools you might need to start learning to leather carve, or sometimes referred to as tooling. And this is where you create texture and design into your leather, surface pattern design, sort of a bit like this kind of work, which you've probably seen. It's always done on vegetable tan leather, and this is because the properties of vegetable tan leather allow for the leather to be wet and almost like a forming and moulding. It kind of goes at almost similar to kind of almost clay properties when it's wet in the right way, and I refer you to an earlier video on casing leather for getting the right water content in your leather to do this. But in terms of the tools that you need to start out, you don't need a massive amount. There's lots available with all different design ends, and they've all got different names, so it can be a bit intimidating when you're looking. To start with, you want a good solid stone granite block. These you can order from the website. They're called quartz slabs. If you are going to get one from a local supplier of granite, just make sure, if they've given you something that's an off-cut or anything out of the tip, just make sure there's no inherent weakness or cracks in it. So you want a good solid base that's not going to do you any kind of damage. So this is one that I use. And make sure you've not got too many rough edges as well that could catch. So solid block, and you want to be doing that on a really solid surface, a solid table. If your table's a bit wobbly in the centre, then move it over and work off where the leg is so that you don't get too much vibration coming up from your arm. So that's your solid stone block. You're going to have your damp leather. And when you want to start, you want to transfer your design onto the leather, so you'll need some tracing paper. So that's also on the website, but any kind of film, or you can use baking sheets to trace your design out. And when you've got your design, you put it onto the leather, then this little tool is very useful. This is a ballpoint stylus, so it just has a rounded end, and you can then transfer your designs onto the leather. So the ballpoint stylus is a good one. Obviously, if you are on a limited budget and you want to add that in later, you could start with maybe using a biro that's had the ink run out, so that you get that nib without transferring any ink onto the leather. If you then want to start, the next thing that's really critical is your swivel knife. These are very different to using other knives into your leather because they act more like a pen, and they've got this swivel action. So this is just the standard swivel knife, and it comes with this 6mm long blade, which you can see there. The idea is to keep it sharp, so I would recommend we do a special strop for this swivel knife, which is made from really hard compressed leather, and you'll find that on the strop section. So again, some jeweler's rouge is a bit handy with this one. Rub it in, and you can then strop your swivel. I tend to hold it there, so you want 45 degrees as normal for stropping, one way and back, so you can keep a nice sharp blade. You can see the metal particles that have come up onto my strop there, and that will give you a nice deep cut, and you can use that for your outlines. I've got one on here, and because of the swivel action, it's great for doing curves and flourishes. Now, I would say that this is quite a wide blade. You tend to angle it and use it as you're kind of working, but it can be useful, particularly if you're doing really tight corners, to have the smaller angled blade, which just gives you a bit more versatility. So these you can buy separately, and they're interchangeable. They screw in and will go into the swivel knife end. So having those two options, the blade that comes with the standard swivel knife, but then also having a smaller filigree knife or shorter blade, angle blade, is very useful. So that's the one I quite like that one. It's called 8014, which is the filigree blade. I think that's right. Yeah. So that's your shorter blade and your swivel, and then the 6-piece tool set. This is just the way that we present them in the studio for the classes. So the 6-piece tool set has 6 pieces in it. You have a veiner, which is one that looks like this. You have a camouflage tool, which is like a half moon crescent with striations. A pear shader, which does as it sounds. It's a smooth tool and it's pear shaped. You get a beveler, and this has a stepped heel. You can see there the deeper end, and this is a smooth beveler that comes in this set for doing edging. A cedar tool, which is a round circular tool, quite small, and a background tool, which has little kind of crosshatch, and this is for depressing and creating up and down texture in your background. So those give you your 6 basic tools, and with those tools there's a huge amount of design you can do. Once you understand the concept of what each one does, you can interpret it and take it onto any of your kind of other designs, and there's lots in a lot of the tutorials and books that use just these 6. The other 2 tools I would maybe consider adding in would be the basket weave. This is a great tool just for starting. It's a geometric, so it can give you a good starting point. It's kind of a bit of a technique for getting together, but there are tutorials on that. But it's good for covering large areas and creating texture and effect. You can also use it for borders. So it's a good starting tool as well if you just wanted even just one to have a practice on and see how it all kind of worked. And I would also suggest you get the small beveler, a smaller beveler. This is the B200. So the one that comes in the 6-piece tool set is that size, and this is the smaller one, and it just, again, it gives you a bit of flexibility for going into tighter corners and angles. And really those craft tools will see you through a lot of projects, and it's something you can add on to as you get more advanced and get more skilled and you start looking at different things. You'll start seeing the potential for some of the tools, and there'll be less, you'll understand a lot more once you've worked with some of these what some of the other tools will do. And lastly, I would say the poly mallet. It's worth investing in one of these mallets. They've got a good heavy heft of a head, which just helps with your tooling getting a better impact. So that's what I would suggest you would need just to get starting tooling. The other thing that is worth getting and is very inexpensive is this little book. It's called the Leathercraft Handbook by Tony and Kay Layer. Again, it's on the website. It's got all sorts of starting points, and it explains how to use each of these tools by taking you through a project. It's also actually just got loads and loads of other information, and it includes a page with using some of these tools just to create different border designs. It's even got how to make a belt in here and how to do lacing and stitching just added in the back. So really good value. I recommend getting that as well and taking yourself through that first project that they list in here, and it will give you an understanding of all the tools. So I hope that's helped. What I've done is put all this these together in one area on the website, which if you go to the kit section, and there's a subsection there called Getting Started with Leather Tooling, and that will put all of those items just together for you in a focused way. So I hope that's helped. Do let us know if you've got any questions, and we'll hopefully be looking at putting some of our classes back on again soon. Thanks so much. Bye bye.